I think that there is going to be a renaissance of all arts, of all physical media. That's what I think. So a couple years ago, in the beginning of 2020, actually right before 2020, a lot of people started making decade in review videos, and I did one. Later on, I changed the name to The Future of Puppetry, because that's really what the video was about. And I want to watch that video, even though it's not been another decade since then. I do feel like it's been a decade worth of events in my life, and also over a decade worth of technology changes, especially regardless on how you feel about it. I'm going to be talking a little bit about AI, not necessarily in a positive view, not necessarily in a negative view, just in a reality that it's here view. So I want to talk a little bit about it, but before I do, I want to watch my video that I did a couple years ago, The Future of Puppetry. So I'm going to watch that and talk about some of the things I talked about there, but and I'm not going to have you watch me watch it. So when you see me next, I'll have already watched it and I'll just start talking about it. But here I go. So I've never done a video like this before, but I thought now would be the time to do it because of what a unique time it is. This is the end of a decade, which in itself isn't that interesting because it's just numbers, but it means a little bit more to me because of where I am in my life now. I'm 31 years old. So a decade ago, I was 21. And in the ages between 21 and 31, I mean, it's where a lot of people kind of find out who they are, and it's definitely been that for me. But I don't want to spend this video talking about things that happened to me in the last 10 years. I actually edited a small montage at the end of this video that I think you guys will enjoy. It shows all kind of clips of things that I've worked on over the past 10 years. In no particular order, I just tried to make it a little bit as compelling as it could be using the footage that I have. But instead, I wanted to focus on the future and what I want to do and why. To be perfectly honest, I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing now. This channel has started in a really unusual way. If you go back and look at a bunch of my old stuff from the beginning, you'll see that it's just random videos, not even all puppet stuff. But slowly I've changed this channel into a resource and place where people can come to learn about puppetry. We started the podcast 2 years ago, and there you can learn a lot about the business, about performing and building puppets. And of course, I release tutorials as often as I can. And I would say that really is kind of my goal in the future, is to just promote puppetry in general. I think the world is changing in a lot of ways, and I have some theories of to where puppetry fits into that world. If you look at the history of puppetry, I kind of see two categories of the types of people that get into puppetry. There are performers, and then there's makers, people who make puppets. But with the way technology is, I see performers less likely to get into puppetry in the future. The cliche thing to point at is CGI in movies for this, which is a true example, but of course that seems like it's a really high thing to aim for. But even for people sitting in their homes, or even kids who have a natural ability to perform, what they can just do is just use an app on their phone, use a face filter to become a dog, a cat, a pig, any type of character that they want, and to be able to ship it to the world immediately from that same device. And I think young performers moving up forward are going to gravitate toward that. Whereas if they had a puppet, they'd have to practice with that puppet. They'd have to learn a new skill. So there's a barrier of entry with puppetry that you don't have with this kind of technology. In the future, I think that it's going to be more people who make puppets that are going to be doing puppet performing. So if you're interested in making puppets, you have an investment in yourself to also perform it in some way. If you spend all this time making it, you're going to use that tool. So that's why I see the future of puppet performers also being people who have built puppets. So I want to use this channel as a way to get more people into making puppets so that we can have more puppetry in the world in the future. That's my goal. If you look at my Facebook page and my Instagram page all the time, I try to share what other people are doing as well. Anytime I'm tagged in something, I always retweet it, share it on an Instagram story, or share it to my Facebook page. In my opinion, the more people doing puppetry, the better. So in the future, you can expect a lot more building on this channel, a lot more tutorials, interviews with puppeteers, behind the scenes videos, and I'm sure a lot of things that I haven't even thought of yet. And it's not just limited to making puppets either. There's so many different trades and tools that are used in puppetry. So in a lot of ways, I really think of this as a maker channel. So we'll be doing more videos on building sets, building props, videos on performing, and even what it's like to shoot a short film. So if you have any interest in that, or if you know anyone who has any interest in that, please feel free to subscribe or share it with someone that you think would be interested. As always, if you have any ideas of something that you'd like to see on this channel, please leave a comment down below, and I look forward to whatever the future holds. So here's a montage of things that have been going on for the last 10 years. I'd love to know what your favorite clip was, or if there was a big thing that you think that I missed. Enjoy. Hello? How does this thing work? Hello, my name is Adam Krutinger, and I'm a puppeteer and puppet builder from Buffalo, New York. Wow. That was, I watched it all the way to the end with the montage and got all teary-eyed about some of that family stuff in there, especially with what's going on in my life now. But anyway, you know, with the Future of Puppetry stuff, I talked a lot about the CGI and how that's taking over puppetry. It had been for a long time with some back and forth. But when I was talking about those face filters, I talked about it as CGI. And now, of course, like I mentioned before, we're in a world of AI. And that thing that I had called CGI was actually AI as a face filter, the way it mapped itself on your face automatically, and the way it would move and follow your expressions. That's all AI. That's CGI that's powered by AI, essentially. So essentially, in these last 4 years, a lot of this terminology has changed because AI has been around for a very long time. If you like autocorrect on your phone or in a Word document, that's all AI. AI is essentially algorithms. So we've just now decided to make AI as a community, as a world, a more prominent term. We used to call AI other things, algorithms, CGI, things like that, which are also their own things, but it's all connected. At the end of the day, it's all data and statistics and how all that works. So I think I still stand by a lot of what I said at that time, that the puppeteers of the future will most likely be makers because they will have that puppet tool. And a lot of the people on the more performing side will probably gravitate to some extent, not all. You know, I don't want to paint with a general brush. I guess I am, but I know it's not exclusively that. But I think a lot of people that came to puppetry through performing and do not make puppets and do not want to make puppets are more likely to fall into an AI, but maybe not necessarily, because I thought of another way that AI could be used for puppetry and performing. Like I can see a world where on the camera, you prompt to the camera, you put your hand up like this and say, design a puppet to put on my hand. And I want it to be a pink alien with yellow antennas with little yellow puffballs on them. And then it generates something. And then you see it in the feed. And then you say, oh, I like that. Can you make the head a little wider and give it black eyes? And actually make the antennas pink, but just the puffballs yellow. And then it would generate that puppet. And you could keep prompting it until it's exactly the way that you want it. And then you just tell it, make the mouth move whenever I open the hands of the puppet. And then the AI would have it do that. But then here's the other thing you could do. You could tell that AI you could prompt it to say, you know, anytime I'm doing the character voice, put a filter over my mouth that makes it look like my mouth is closed, almost like a ventriloquist, right? So anytime I'm talking normal, it would be my mouth. But anytime I talk as the character, it would cover my mouth with like the same way Zoom has like sunglasses on your face that follow along. It would be a little image of your mouth closed and probably lower chin so that it doesn't go below that. So you could have a full conversation with your puppet, almost in a ventriloquist style, without being a ventriloquist. I'm not saying like ventriloquism is going to go away, because I think that's probably most successful in a live performance kind of situation. But that being said, this AI is powerful stuff. And I think it's going to take over entertainment, at least in the short term, in a very prominent way. However, I think that is going to get old quickly. And I think that there is going to be a renaissance of all arts, of all physical media. And I think we're going to go back. Internet kind of flattened the world as far as communication. Before, only people who had access to television studios could reach wider, again, this is before internet, but reach a wider audience. But once the internet came out, it kind of leveled the playing field where anyone with a phone or a computer could reach just about anyone, or at least potentially reach them, have the opportunity to. Whether or not you reach them is probably more based on the quality of the content you're creating. But I think, like I said, we're going to be going back to community-based live performance. That's what I think this renaissance is going to be. Because I think very shortly, with all this generative media, in the near future, the internet is going to be pretty much useless for anything other than entertainment if you are someone who would enjoy watching AI-generated entertainment. Because I don't think we'll be able to trust anything online. I think the internet will essentially become useless unless there's a new internet that can be secured through some sort of blockchain, so you know who made what, and it's got a receipt on it that cannot be changed. But I don't know if AI will be able to find a way around that in some way. But essentially what I think is going to happen is local communities are going to value performances more, theater more, live shows. I think magicians will have a resurge, live puppetry shows, all that kind of classical entertainment that communities used to do at community centers, school shows, and organizations, local organizations. I think it's going to come back to that, where we're all more focused on our local community. And I think that's going to be a very good thing. That's what I think. So, that being said, I'm not naive enough to say that there's not going to be problems getting there. I think over the next 4 years or so, there's going to be massive growing pains to getting through this. Because I think some people, how I said the internet's not going to be able to be trusted, I think some people are going to be slow to realize that. Not on purpose, not for any reason other than just not being as aware of the technology news that's coming out. Let alone, I just watched, I'll link it down below or up top, this 60-minute interview about AI, which is, that is just a very small point of AI news. It goes way deeper than that. And unfortunately, it's probably here to stay. And if you think it's not very good now is the worst that it's ever going to be. Again, even look at the evolution of CGI, computer-generated images, in movies. Like, you watch the things that were CGI, computer-generated images in movies, like in the early 90s, compared to now, it's almost completely realistic. Whereas before, it was very boxy. I think a really good example of CGI that was used in the past that doesn't hold up is a movie like The Scorpion King, which features The Rock as the Scorpion King. It was a spin-off from The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, who is just like a gem of this world and it needs to be protected at all costs. But you look at that CGI of The Rock and the Scorpion King. I mean, it doesn't even hold up for the time it came out, but it definitely doesn't hold up now. And if that was to be recreated now, I'd argue it'd probably be indistinguishable from the real person and what would be created now in CGI. And that's how far we've come. But now, again, with AI, we're at a point where we can have these CGI characters completely autonomous, at least in a virtual setting, talking back and forth to you. And it would be pretty close to indistinguishable from having a person behind it. Another thing that came out, which absolutely blew my mind, I saw Animax, and I'll talk about what Animax is in just a moment. The company Animax posted that they're doing a collaboration with Boston Dynamics. And Animax is a company that creates animatronics and like walk-around characters for all sorts of different theme parks. I believe Disney is a client of theirs. I believe Universal Studios and a bunch of other similar type of companies.
So again, puppetry is a very important part of our roots and our craft here at Animax. Moving further into the slide deck, another...
And the fact that they're partnering with Boston Dynamics is probably the biggest news, I'm guessing, in theme park history, future and past. Because right now, walk-around characters are college students, sweaty college students, walking around, and they can't do the voice, so they don't have these costume characters talk. When they fit a Boston Dynamics robot in these costumes, it can have a moving mouth. It'll be able to have a conversation with you using AI technology, and it'll match the voices of those characters perfectly. The other great thing about having Boston Dynamics do these characters with robots in partnership with Animax is that now all these characters can be to scale. So you can have Captain Hook that looks exactly like the cartoon Captain Hook as a costume on a robot, talking, sword fighting with Peter Pan, who could also be a robot, or maybe even a real person. Who knows? At that point, anything could happen. It'll probably start off as a real person because he's mostly real person proportions, whereas Captain Hook isn't. He's got like that huge chin and stuff. But also, again, the proportion will be correct. Even Tinkerbell could be some little drone thing and communicate the way Tinkerbell does. And again, this goes for all characters. Could also have a big Wreck-It Ralph character walking around with Vanellope walking around as a little tiny character too, walking next to each other and talking, having a conversation, whether it's on stage or just walking around the park. Like, this is going to change the world in such a dramatic way that people don't even realize. And that's just for entertainment, not to mention all the servers and staff in restaurants and whatnot will potentially be using some of this technology too. So I just wanted to mention that Boston Dynamics and Animax connection, because I think that's something that flew under the radar for a lot of people. But I think it is going to be, again, one of the biggest things to ever happen in live entertainment. So that's actually kind of where the line draws between that renaissance of live entertainment and AI also collide, because like I said, things will get more local because you won't be able to trust the internet as much. But for the people that do, and people who are willing to travel, you'll have that AI entertainment in the physical world as well as in the digital world. Not to mention AR and VR, augmented reality and virtual reality, which is becoming prominent too with the Google glasses, which is really incredible. And of course the Apple glasses, which are even more incredible. And what I like about them is how they can be used in traditional screen puppetry now. Because like right now, we go down like this, and then we look at a monitor. With those glasses, if you're on a dolly or something, your monitor is everywhere you look from the camera. So like it's just like like having the monitor strapped to your face, which the way I just said that probably doesn't sound appealing, but if you're in the back of a crowd shot with a puppet shot, you can't see the screen. There's too many people in front of you. So like being able to have these Google glasses or these Apple glasses will allow you to perfectly see the screen for whatever you're doing. But again, the real question is, will that style of puppetry be prominent in the digital age that we're going into? That's up in the air. I think some people will always do it. I plan on doing it, even if it's only for myself. But I guess in all of this, that's what I would just say is the message. People are always wondering, like, oh, with technology changing, what should I do? What should I do? And I would just say, do whatever makes you happy. And I sincerely mean that. And it's not what makes you happy. Don't make what makes you happy whatever makes you money. Not to say that there's nothing to that, but I think if you start from a place of authenticity, of doing things that truly make you happy, the money may follow. So, and I think you'll be happier doing it that way. And we'll see what the future holds. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks so much for following along with my journey, my health journey, my puppetry journey, all that. Thanks for sticking around to the end. One thing that I wanted to mention too is I've started channel memberships on this channel. And I've designed that for people who want to get a deeper look into my process and how I make my videos and things like that. So it's kind of a behind the scenes look. It's also a more personal look at me, a more vulnerable look at me. So I'll talk about really whatever you all want to talk about. I post, I'm trying to at least post something daily within that membership things. Sometimes it'll just be some text or a poll. I'm going to be doing some vlog videos once in a while. You'll also get sometimes early access to videos, but perfectly honestly, a lot of times when I make a new video, I'm so thirsty to put it out to the world. I put it out right away. But once in a while, I do have to hold on to things a little longer, and you'll get immediate access to something like that when it's made. And then whenever it drops, if it drops, it'll go out to everyone else. So you'll get some early access, but more so it's about a connection if you want to see more about how I think and how I create things. Yeah, and honestly, I just really appreciate your support. I have 2 tiers. As of now, they're the same benefits. One's like $5 and one's $19.99. So it's just, I think it's called the Puppet Nerd tier and the Puppet Nerd Supporter tier. It's just for people who maybe have a little bit more resources and are able to help support the channel more. The more support we get, the more we can put out. Almost everything goes right back into the channel as far as getting more supplies for the channel, upgrading equipment. I often donate to a lot of puppetry projects as well. And to help, at the end of the day, all I want is more puppetry in the world. And I think the more people making puppets creates more people interested in puppetry, which creates more puppetry work. And more puppetry works make more people interested in puppetry, which makes more people creating puppetry. So it's just this cycle, this snowball effect, hopefully making puppetry more prominent and a respected art form. That's my only goal. So anyway, thank you so much for your support. And thanks for watching to the end. Thanks. Bye.